In today's episode, we're going to get a better understanding of the most powerful tool in human history, your mind. What if I told you that there may be victim stories that you're currently telling yourself that are holding you back and anchoring you down? Today, we're going to talk about how victim stories work and how awareness around them is the first step to eliminating them in order to unlock your full potential. So here's a personal example of how I was impacted by a victim story and what I did to overcome it. So every year we facilitate a retreat where we bring our top 10 real estate agents on our team and our top 5 culture award winners to Mexico to celebrate all of their achievements. Now, the day after returning from this trip, I received a phone call from Rochelle, who's our team president. Rochelle asked me, she said, "Hey, Mark, have you talked to anybody yet?" And I said, "No, I haven't talked to anyone. What's up?" And her response was, "Well, we just had 4 agents walk into the office and handed in their resignation." I asked, "What, really? Who?" I was curious because I didn't have any sort of heads up. And Rochelle told me that the people that had come in, the names of them, and I was just shocked. One agent had been with us for over 10 years. She started as an admin and worked her way up to a sales partner. And the other 3 were actual friends of mine, and I didn't have any sort of warning. Rochelle went on to explain that she got a text from one of the agents asking to meet with her one-on-one. And Rochelle went to see the agent in the lobby, but she was asked to go to the kitchen. Once she was in the kitchen, there were 3 other agents standing there. And after some tense silence, they said, "We're handing in our resignations." And Rochelle was officially ambushed, expecting 1 agent, and then she got 4. And so she handled it really well, staying super professional. She said her goodbyes. But after hearing this, I went into full protective mode, right? And what bothered me most was what Rochelle had actually gone through and that she was ambushed. So it reminded me back in the hockey days, wanting to protect that teammate, right? Where somebody kind of punched them in the face and you want to go protect them. But this wasn't hockey, right? So, going and dropping the gloves wasn't an option. And so I just kept thinking, these thoughts came up in my mind, these stories came up how could they not give me any sort of heads up, that they weren't happy? Why would they ambush her that way? We trained these guys from scratch and, spent personal time together. We didn't even get a phone call from them. So later we actually found out that they had planned it for about 6 months. They weren't adding buyers to her CRM nearing the end of the term. Some were deleting emails, and some of them were actually encouraging agents to leave the team as well. So we trained them to earn incredible incomes and hosted them at our home for barbecues. And I was hurt, I was angry, but then I remembered, after all these victim stories I was telling myself, I remembered that there was a quote I heard somewhere that holding on to anger is like swallowing poison and expecting the other to suffer. But what was more important is that I realized I wasn't taking 100% responsibility. I wasn't taking ownership for what happened. I wasn't looking at the lesson that needed to be learned from the situation. And ultimately, I was telling myself victim stories, and they definitely were not serving me. So I realized I needed to reframe the meaning of what happened. So I ended up forgiving them and told myself a new story. And after reflecting on what could be learned from the situation, I changed the story to "This is happening for us, not to us," and that something good was going to come from the situation. So the team rallied. They were great. And we called all of our clients. We booked some solid appointments. The team members started to tell us, they said, the office, feels a lot lighter now. And then messages started to pour in that the culture is stronger now than it's ever been without the negativity that were coming from those agents. So what changed here? What changed is that I shifted my mindset from victim to victor. From victim to victor. I changed the stories. And through all of this, I realized that stories are the meanings that we assign to the events that happen in our lives. Victim stories blames outside circumstances or other people and holds you back in a big, big way. Victor stories looks inward and forces you to grow and get better and learn from everything that happened. You know, I tell my son when he drives, everything that happens in the car is your responsibility. If somebody pulls out and you hit them, it's your fault, okay? If somebody runs a red light and you don't see him, you're not paying attention and you hit him, it's your fault. Everything that happens is your fault. And so what that does is it allows him and it gives him permission to take responsibility for everything in the car. And so he's more mindful now where he can't point the finger and say, you know what, it was their fault. Because if he gets in an accident and he gets hurt, then ultimately, you know, that's not good for him. So he can't point later and say, oh, that was his fault and I got hurt. He needs to be protective when he drives, and he needs to learn from everything and keep an eye out. So that happens in business all the time, where you start looking outward, you start blaming outside circumstances. And so to bring this closer to home for you, for this exercise, write every single reason why you're not hitting your goals. So for example, the market is slow. That's a victim story. You know, people aren't buying or selling right now. Interest rates are too high. Nobody wants to make a move. I can't hit my goal because there are too many agents out there. There's too many agents in the market. There's too much competition. My company isn't providing enough leads or appointments for me. I'm not getting the support that I need, and I don't know who to ask for help. You know, talking to strangers is scary, and I don't do well with rejection. You know, I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't have the experience that top agents have, right? Just write them all down, everything you can think of, and be really honest with yourself when you write them down. And seriously consider if those stories that you're writing are serving you or not. Do they energize you, or do they make you feel weak, right? Do they energize you to take action or to do nothing? Do you feel more optimistic or less optimistic when you read them? Okay. Think of it like this. If you have kids and they would bring that list that you just wrote down to you, would you tell them that they're on the right track and that these victim stories are truth? Do you think that your kids would have an advantage or a disadvantage in life if that list came to you? If they saw glasses half empty versus the glasses half full perspective, okay? Or would you encourage them and say, you know what, you can make it happen, right? And we all want the best for our kids, right? And so the thing is that the advice that we would give our kids, we need to give that same advice to ourselves. And remember this, that your mind is the most powerful tool in human history. We have to be intentional and use it to our advantage, because if we don't use it wisely, this powerful tool will work against us. Okay, the way the world works is there's negativity in our minds. They flow or they gravitate to negativity. Okay, that's just the way that the world works. You need to be intentional. Just like if you leave a garden unattended, weeds will grow. And it's the same thing with our mind. Okay, we drift towards negativity if we're not intentional. Okay, so unfortunately, the majority of real estate agents out there that are in the industry, their minds are working against them. So you can have success or you can have sympathy, but you can't have both, right? So think of it this way. A very successful agent that complains about how tough things are, in general, they don't get much sympathy from other agents in their marketplace, right? Just remember, the next time that you think about complaining, that top producers recognize victim talk and they avoid it like the plague. So if you take 100% responsibility for the outcomes in your life, you'll start to feel more in control, less stress, and more positive results will come your way in life overall. So the action steps for today is to write down all your victim stories or excuses, everything that's holding you back. Just write them all down. Awareness is the first step to eradicating a victim mindset. And the second step is to make a decision that success in your life is 100% your responsibility. Decide that no matter what happens in the market, no matter what happens in your brokerage, no matter what happens on your team, no matter what, that you are going to take responsibility for making it happen no matter what comes up. Okay. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to guide you through how to flip these victim stories to victor stories, how to flip them from victim to victor stories, and guide you through how to lift any potential anchors you have that's holding you back in order to get the wind in your sails, helping you accomplish the goals that you want. So thanks for listening, guys. If today's episode resonated with you, please do me a favor, subscribe and share with other real estate agents, and leave a review as well. Let's keep building a community of real estate agents together. I love you guys, and keep on going full out.